What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It is your big bro Nate. We're gonna jump into today's video. And guys, I wanna ask you something real quick. Do you feel like you don't know exactly where you're going in life or what you're supposed to do? I know a lot of people feel this, especially these days, right? You're told that you need to follow this pursuit, follow that vocation, do this, do that, right? But let me ask you guys something. At the end of the day, do you feel like your purpose is being fulfilled? In today's video, I want to talk about something that I hope is going to help a lot of people out there. If you can relate to this, let me know in the comments below. But do you guys ever feel like you're stuck in a rut? Do you feel like you're doing what everybody else is telling you to do, but at the end of the day, it feels empty? You feel like there's really no purpose. There's no passion. There's no zest to life, so to speak. Guys, that's not by coincidence, right? You were made for something greater. And I believe that God has a purpose for every single person out there. If you're watching this video today, it's not by chance. It's not by random occurrence, right? I believe that God is speaking through people, and I hope that He uses me as a vessel to speak to people's hearts, souls, and minds. Now, guys, there's a very interesting passage in the scripture that talks about a person's gift, and that is Proverbs 18:16. It talks about a person's gift will make room for him and bring him before great people. Now, this is a very interesting verse. If you haven't read Proverbs, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of wisdom. People look at the Old Testament and they think, oh, that was thousands of years ago. It doesn't apply today. Couldn't be further from the truth, guys. The book of Proverbs is an amazing book, right? The Bible is an amazing book in and of itself, right? But Proverbs is a very wise, it's a very knowledgeable book. If you read it chapter by chapter, if you meditate on it, it'll show you a lot of things. And this verse in particular stuck out to me. It made sense. Because for many years in my life, I was chasing things that weren't meant for me. Now, at that time, it could have been. At that time, where God wanted me made sense. But as the days go on, as the weeks go on, as the months go on, a lot of people start to question what they're doing. And there seems to be a great awakening these days. There seems to be something going on in the hearts and minds of many people. And this is worldwide. Many people are seeking truth. They're seeking the way. They're seeking the life. And Jesus says that nobody comes to the Father, no one comes to God except through Him. He is the way, the truth, and the life. I know this seems crazy. I know it seems foreign, maybe to many people, but I understand. I've been there. I've tried chasing almost everything else there is out there in the world. I was successful in many worldly ways, but at the end of the day, it left me very empty and purposeless. There was really no fire for life. There was really no hope, right? And one day I thought, you know what? Maybe I can't do this all on my own. Maybe there is a way. Maybe there is truth. Maybe there is life out there. And instead of trying to recite some prayer, instead of trying to recite some thing that some pastor or someone told me to do, I just simply talked to Jesus and I prayed to Jesus, right? And I found out that by doing that, by putting my faith and hope in Him, that He showed me the way, the truth, and the life. It's through Him that we can have access to the Father. And once you understand God as your Father, as a loving Father who wants the best for you, then these words will make sense. In Proverbs 18:16, it's no different. You see, a lot of people today, if you're watching this video, you might be stuck in a dead-end job. You might be stuck in something that pretty much just takes the soul out of you, takes the spirit out of you. Maybe you're successful. Maybe you're not by worldly standards. Maybe you're fighting. Maybe you're scraping by. And I get it, guys. Sometimes in life, you have to fight. You have to struggle. But if this is something that's ongoing, if this is something that is routine for you, right? If this is something that you are having to put up with, week after week, month after month, year after year, you find yourself stuck in this web of delusion, of fighting, of just trying to make it by, then I have some news for you. You're probably not where you need to be, and you probably know that. Now, how do I know that? Like I said, I was doing a lot of things in my life. I was going after things that people told me to do. People who wanted the best for me, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, they weren't me. And so I chased the world. I chased what the world had to offer. I did what everybody wanted me to do, so to speak, right? And these were things I wanted to do as well. But I thought by doing these things, I would fit into the world better. I would find my purpose. I would find my passion. And it's ironic how this ended up being the case. But each time I would achieve something, each time I would do something, each time I would get to the next level, so to speak, I'd find out that that really wasn't where I was supposed to be, because I was chasing what I wanted, right? I was chasing what I thought was good in the moment. I was chasing stability. I was chasing what I thought was going to lead me to happiness. I was chasing money. I was chasing women. I was chasing pleasures. I was chasing me, right? I was trying to fill a void in my heart that only God could fill. Once you understand these things, once you start to understand that God wants you to follow Him, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, but it's going to have purpose. It's going to have meaning. You will encounter hardships, roadblocks, and all these things in life, but you will flow. You will run on wings like eagles, right? You will stumble sometimes, but you won't fall. And sometimes we fall, right? But it's because we're chasing ourselves. We're chasing what we want, what we desire. We end up in these dead ends. We end up in these ditches, so to speak, right? These valleys of shadow and death where we're like, goodness, how did I end up here again? Why do I keep returning to my vomit, right? Like a dog returns to his vomit. That's another verse in Proverbs. But guys, what do you do about this purpose? What do you do about this gift that you know that you're given? I want you to stop for just a second. I want you to think. I want you to tune everything out around you, and I want you to think just for a second what you're actually good at, what you enjoy doing in life. Do you enjoy being around people, for instance? Even if you're an introvert, hear me out. Do you enjoy being around people? Do you enjoy helping people? Do you enjoy adding something of value to people's lives? All right, the world's gonna say, oh, well, if you wanna do that, get into sales, make a lot of money, right? Sell a product that will help people. I'm gonna tell you something, guys. I was in sales and it was a very draining job, right? There's very few companies, very few products out there that are really 100% full of integrity and honesty and are actually out to help somebody, right? And sometimes if you've been in sales, you know people in sales, you've thought about it, let me just let you know that oftentimes you end up thinking, you end up justifying, you end up telling yourself that you're doing the right thing, only to find out down the road that your integrity is being challenged, that you will ask yourself if you're doing this to truly help people or you're doing this for money. Now, guys, another thing that Jesus talks about is seeking first the kingdom of righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Everybody's afraid of the bank account. Everybody's afraid of the debt. Everybody's afraid of the world around them. But Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow, right? He cares for you more than the flowers of the field, than the birds of the air. He's there for you. He's your Father. And your gift is unique to you. The scriptures talk about how we're all being knit together into the body of Christ, right? Each member has its own function. Each part of your body, right? Your fingers, your hands, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears, right? Everything has a purpose. And sometimes as people, I'm speaking for myself here, but if you can relate, let me know. You can fall into this trap of, oh, I gotta chase the money. I gotta chase what's gonna be the most profitable. I gotta chase what's gonna bring me the most glory and accolades, what's gonna bring me the most achievements. I have to prove myself to my family, to my wife, to my friends, to the people who thought I couldn't do it, right? We're always trying to seek the approval of other people, but what are you uniquely gifted with? You see, I came to a point in my life where I realized that I enjoyed certain things and I didn't enjoy certain things. Now, you don't go through life always doing what you enjoy. Sometimes you just have to work, right? There was a time in my life I was working a full-time job, and then on the weekends I was working, right? Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Sometimes you work 7 days a week. It is what it is. God also wants you to rest in him. He wants you to trust in him, that he's going to provide you the way, right? So let me ask you this, back to my original question of what is it that you enjoy doing? Is it being around people? Is there something that you want to proclaim to the world? A lot of people are afraid to pick up a camera and tell people, coach people, guide people with what they know, right? And guys, at the end of the day, I don't know a whole lot, but I know what I know. And I share that hoping that God speaks through me. Because at the end of the day, these are all just words, and I could just be saying this to say it, but I hope and I pray that God speaks through me to people and he opens people's eyes. So if you're gifted at something, go for it. Go after what you are called into if you're made to do something. If you are called to be a doctor, be a doctor. If you're called to be in law enforcement, be in law enforcement. If you're called to volunteer at your church, at the food drive, to help people out, do that, right? If you're called, go after your calling. Don't be surprised sometimes if the things that you thought that you were called to were just a chapter, were just a page in the book, the story that God has for your life. Don't be surprised if you run into hard times. Don't be surprised if you make a lot of mistakes along the way. Don't be surprised if you have regrets. Don't be surprised if you fail, if you fall. Don't be surprised if you take 2 steps forward and 10 steps back, or sometimes roll down the mountain completely. It happens. But also know that when you step into what God is calling you to, life doesn't necessarily become easy, but it becomes purposeful, hopeful. You can get through all these things. You'll find out that your anxiety almost vanishes overnight. You'll find out that your depression is almost non-existent. You'll still have bad days, don't get me wrong. But understand that when you actually walk in what you're called to, that's where you need to be. God will give you the strength that only he can provide. God will lead you to the people that you need to be around. God will lead you to the vocation. God will give you the opportunities. He will open the doors. You see, we're often trying to make things happen. We're always trying to grind, right? We live in a hustle culture these days. We live in a time where it's all about, man, look at the world around you. Look how it's falling apart. Look how everything's, going to hell in a handbasket. Everybody's preaching doom and gloom and how, these are the end days. And guys, at the end of the day, we don't know, right? No one knows the day. No one knows the hour. There's a lot of things pointing towards the end of days being a very big reality, but it could be another 100, it could be another 1,000 years, right? There's been points throughout history where people thought, oh, this has got to be it, right? Because of all these things happening. It's not about trying to figure out the ending. It's about focusing on the day in front of you. What has God tasked you with? I believe everybody, especially if you're listening to this, I don't think it's by coincidence. I believe everybody is called to do something that brings glory to the Lord, that reflects your light to Christ. We're called to build the kingdom of heaven on earth, and the kingdom of heaven is within our hearts. So you have these things in you, stirring you, things that are moving you, pushing you, pulling you into something that you might think is really scary, you might think is out of your ability, right? It's no coincidence that a lot of people one day wake up and they're like, oh my goodness, God's calling me to, be a missionary. God's calling me to do this. God's calling me to pick up a camera, make videos. God's calling me to go help these people I know need help. God's calling me to do this. It's no coincidence. And all of a sudden they find their purpose, right? Because it's not really about us at the end of the day. We're supposed to take care of ourselves. We're supposed to make sure that we are full of strength. We're supposed to take care of our bodies, cherish our bodies, because the Holy Spirit lives in us. Our body's a temple. At the same time, we're not just supposed to keep it to ourselves, like the parable of the talents, right? The parable of the talents talks about 3 people who were given a different amount of talents. One was given 10, one was given 5, one was given 1. The master went away on a long trip and said, use these talents, make profit with these talents, right? And the one with 10 did, the one with 5 did, the one with 1 didn't. He hid it in a field. He was scared. He was scared of what he was supposed to do. He was scared of going out. He didn't have faith. He didn't have hope. He didn't have a purpose. It's not about having one talent. It's about what you do with it. It's about what are you doing with your purpose? What are you doing with what you're given? You see, sometimes, guys, I truly believe this is a very common theme throughout the scriptures. You have to be humble before you're exalted. Some of you watching this video think you have nothing to offer. Some of you guys think that your life is just, you're on some sort of autopilot where you're just kind of floating through life and you don't really have a purpose and you're trying to play it safe and you're trying to do what everybody else wants you to do. But truthfully, you know what you need to do. Or maybe you truly have no idea, and that's when you call out to the Lord and you ask him for wisdom. People think it's funny. They're like, that's all it takes. You just call out to the Lord and he gives you wisdom. Yeah, he will. He'll show you things. He will guide you in the ways of life. He will guide you in the ways of truth. He will show you the way. So don't be disheartened when you're stuck somewhere. If you feel called out of it, you need to pray about it. You need to wrestle with it. You need to seek wisdom. You need to ask God. He will always open the door for you. Your gift is not meant to be hidden in a field. It's not meant to be buried. It's meant to be used. And truly, I truly believe this. When we act on that, when we follow God in faith, when we use our talents, when we use our purpose to glorify him, that is when we are exalted, not for our sake, not so that Nathan becomes successful, not so that I become this or that, right? That's just sort of an effect, right? That's sort of a side effect that might come or does come with it because the scriptures say it does. So don't be so worried on seeking the money, trying to find a wife, trying to find, the life hack, the book that you need to go buy and read, and all these things are good, right? They're all like tiny pieces of a puzzle. But the one who has created your very life, who has sewn together your every thought, your every cell in your body, he's the one who knows exactly what you're made for. Each vessel he's created serves a different purpose. So don't get lost in this world. Don't get lost in yourself. Don't get lost in chasing the things of the world. You see, God will give some people a lot, so to speak, on earth. And sometimes some people he won't, and I truly believe that's his blessing, right? If you believe that God is your good father, you know that if he gave you more than what you could handle, you would be unwise with it. You might destroy your life with it. But he said, lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven, right? If the kingdom of heaven is within your heart and you lay up treasure for yourself in heaven, that's following the will of God. That's following God's purpose for you. And then you'll find the fruits of the Spirit through these things. You will grow in love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness, self-control, long-suffering. You will grow in these things. And you'll find that these things are far, far better than any gold, than any riches, than any fame, than any fortune, than any woman that you can find. All of the things that God adds to your life after that will be a bonus. It'll be a blessing so that you can bless others. The scriptures talk about if you get to a point where you're successful, if you get to a point where you're considered wealthy or rich and you have an abundance, that is your time, that is your turn, that is your opportunity to turn around and bless others, right? God's always checking the motives of our heart. Are we chasing the Bugatti? Are we chasing the big home? Are we chasing the beautiful women who probably aren't going to be the best for us? Not saying a beautiful woman can't be good, but are we chasing the surface level things? Are we chasing the external things, or are we chasing something bigger? That's why when Solomon, when he was asked by God, God came to him in a dream and he asked him, Solomon, whatever you ask of me, I'll give it to you. If you ask for riches, if you ask for power, if you ask for glory, if you ask for all the, anything you ask, I'll give it to you. Solomon asked for wisdom and understanding. And through that wisdom and understanding, God blessed him greatly. He did a lot of things in his time to build up the kingdom, to not exalt himself, but to point to God, to point to the provider, the creator, the good father of all things. so that God's name would be exalted. Now, Solomon obviously fell to lust, right? Some of the greatest men in the Bible fell to lust, and that's something that especially men need to be aware of, because when you follow the purpose God has for you, when you abound in blessings, when you start to walk in peace, people are going to notice. Women are going to notice. They're going to want to be with you. They're going to want to have the lifestyle that you have. They're going to look up to you, and you have to be discerning, because a woman will destroy your soul, right? The wrong woman will. The wrong woman is the kryptonite to man. And sometimes it can take many years to come back from that, but the Lord is good and faithful to his people. Even if you fall into that woman, even if you're watching this going, you know what, I used to be successful, I used to have a great life. Guys, God can still make something good out of it. God works all things together for good to those who are called according to his purpose, right? So ask the Lord. Ask yourself. Be real with yourself. What is your gift? What is your purpose? What is that thing you want to go after? And go for it. Go for it in faith. Sometimes God's going to call you out of the boat. You're going to be fishing. You're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to be minding your own business. You're going to be in your daily routine. And all of a sudden, God's going to tell you, you need to go here. You need to do this. And you're going to go, what? But you have to follow him in faith. Seek first the kingdom. Seek the things that are good, that are pure. Seek the things that bring life. Seek his son, Jesus Christ, and all these things will be added to you. Guys, if you have anything you want to add, any questions, any disagreements, let me know in the comments below. Love hearing from you guys. Appreciate all the support. Lord willing, I'll see y'all in the next one.